Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Pure Gaming Mom and I'm a 40-year-old woman from Norway. I'm a mom of three and in my spare time, which there isn't a lot of actually, I like to game. I like to play games on my computer and I sit in my sofa when the kids are put to bed and I play games. Today we'll jump into playing City Skylines 2, and as you can see, I struggle a lot in this game to figure out which map I should use. Ended up choosing the Highlands as it seems to be the correct demography for both me being Norwegian and living in Norway, and the climate also seemed to kind of match Norway, but not at all the same because right now there's snow here and it's a bit cold. Yes, and when we jump into the map here, I haven't played this map before. It's a quite new map for me to be playing, so I struggle a bit with figuring out how to start this city because of the power lines being on the opposite side of the river or lake, or yeah, let's call it a river. And that kind of set me off in the beginning of playing this. But nevertheless, I spent some time trying to figure out. I'm not the greatest builder. I just like jumping into a game and trying to figure out how the city should look like. And roads, I hate building roads, which is kind of weird since this is a large part of playing City Skylines is building roads. I strive to be a great builder of roads, but I'm not. You'll see that later in this video or another episode of this game. Yeah, and sorry for my intense laughing sometimes. I'm kind of nervous. This is my first recording, and as a rookie, I made a mistake of not speaking when I recorded the game, as my husband was sitting in the sofa next to me, and it felt kind of weird sitting and commenting on my playing as I gamed. So I'll try to do a voiceover, and some of my comments might be misplaced as I'm also a rookie to recording and recording the sound afterwards. But hey, you gotta start somewhere. So I actually turned the recording off for a while and spent a good 10 minutes trying to figure out how to start this city because I also like starting it with a coal plant. I'm not sure why, because it's probably much cheaper to start with the outside connection, but that's just how I am. I have my habits, and that's the way I like to game. So, in a few moments, we'll see that I finally figured it out. Okay, so I finally figured out how to start my city. And as you can see, and as I mentioned, I'm not the greatest road builder or planner or anything in this game, but it brings me joy to see that I have started something. I find it really hard starting the cities. I'm not good at planning the cities and figuring out, I should have the downtown here with the commercial area and the offices should be there, and the rich people should live there and the people living in the low rent apartment should live there and the industry should be there and everything. So I'm just trying to put stuff down, and I'm also kind of, I think I'm impacted by the fact that I'm living in Norway and I'm living quite uh, in a not a small city. I'm living in the third largest city in Norway, but the city is kind of, it's not messy, but it's not that structured. So where I live in my area, there's lots of nice nature and a river and lots of nice houses and places for people to live. But there's also lots of industry, and there's also stores and commercial and offices and everything melted together. And that's how I'm used to living. So I think that's why I'm building like I'm building and not building very structured. Because in my head, if you have or in my mind, I'm sorry about my not so good English. In my mind, I think that if you have a place where there is people living, there should be offices nearby, and there should also be some stores and some places for the people to enjoy their coffee or a pizza or something like that just nearby. Like for me, if I want to go to the store, I just put on my shoes and I walk for 10 minutes, and then I'm at the store and at the gym. And my husband lives quite near his job, so he could walk to his job in 10 minutes. My kids go to school within 15 minutes of the house, and where they go to school there is quite a lot of offices also. So I think my perspective of building in cities skylines is that where there's people there should be services. And that's why I also have a problem with the industry areas of city skyline, because they often turn out to be these gray uh, places where there's a lot of smog and pollutions from the factories. And of course there is pollutions from the factories in Norway also, but the factories we have in our neighborhood, or not neighborhood but close to us, they're not that gray and polluted and smoggy as the ones in city skylines. So that's why you will see, well, as the game progresses, that I'm not a big fan of the industry. I have to have it in the game, but I'm not a big fan. I try to push it out to the edge, which makes the poor people living in my cities, in the city skylines, having to commute for eternities to get to their jobs, which in real life in Norway or in my city, uh, people probably wouldn't have to commute as long as I make them commute in city skylines. But it is what it is. So let's just take a look further what's happening. As you also can see, I like to lay out my housing areas quite strange, or it's not strange. I've seen other YouTubers do this and other players do this. I like to make them into small squares, because if I give my citizens the possibility to make large houses, they will do so. They think they have lots of money, and then it will turn out that they didn't have as much money as they thought, and they can't pay rent. And then you will have the high rent symbol showing up. So that's why I'm actually spending a lot of time in the game trying to make smaller patches of houses, so they don't build really, really, really big houses and end up in debt because they cannot pay. I'm actually working with debt collection, so that's one of my biggest, not fears, but biggest issues in life, that I don't want anybody to end up in a situation where they lose their place to live because of them owning a place that they can't afford, because that would really suck to be kicked out of a house or have to move because of not being able to pay. And I know a lot of people have to move because they can't afford to pay. But yeah, I guess I'm figuring out a few of my reasons for playing as I'm talking through, or not the reasons for playing, but the reasons why I play as I'm voicing over this video. Yeah. And here I'm actually making one of those large patches of houses where you just fill in an entire area with the green stuff that makes houses. And as you can see, and as I said, the houses or the blueprints for the houses will be quite big. So it will probably have to be changed in a while, because I guess that area would be one of those areas where you would have the high rent symbol showing up over the houses, and the people living in the houses would be looking for other places to live or not being able to pay their rent because they built too big. Yeah. So I I try to do this sometimes, but I also feel that the layout of the houses will be kind of close together, and that's probably also some of my Norwegian heritage that brings me to think that the houses in the clusters should not be there. Although in my city there is a lot of property owners that are selling out parts of their property and building a house in their backyard and selling it for lots of money, and you have a house on a house. And I think that is kind of not the way cities should look like. There should be space for everybody to have a place where they can feel like they're not looking directly into the kitchen or bedroom or anything of their neighbor, especially if you're living in a house like me. If you're living in row houses or in blocks, that would be another situation. But if you have spent your hard-earned money on a house, I think the house shouldn't be on top of another house. Then you could might as well live in a row house, I think. So that's my opinion. I have quite a few opinions, so I will probably share them, and not all my opinions will be as popular, but it is what it is. It actually takes quite a while to get the game started. As you can see, I only have 25 people living in my city at this point. But I feel that this is the way I like starting a city, because I get to control how the houses pop up. And maybe I have an issue with controlling things, um, but I like how it turns out. And yeah, it feels good to be in control of the layout of the city. And as you can see, the houses are on top of each other also when I build like this, but they're not quite as large, and they're more structured. And we just reached the first level. We receive quite a few extra things with them. We receive the medium density row houses and also the blocks, as I like to call them. And you receive money, and you receive the garbage management system and the medical. And you also receive one development point and three new land tiles that you can claim. And as I have my issue with the industry, I want to spend those quite fast to be able to push both the industry and the coal factory, or the coal plant as it's called, and the garbage management off to the edge of the map, so I can keep it as far away from from the houses and the commercial districts as possible, because I don't like the gray and I don't like the smell, or my people don't like the smell of the factories. And as you need workplaces for the uh, the people living in the city, you also I also do not want them to experience the bad air quality that comes out of all those factories that eventually will be popping up to provide them with the workplaces and money to keep their life going. You gotta have a workplace to go to live your life in these days. So yeah, you will see I bought the square of the already started, or the edges of the already started industry area, and I will expand that way, I think. And that will be a red area where you can't build anything other than industry. So, and it will be quite interesting afterward to see, have I placed my industry on top of the agriculture or the farming areas, which I probably have, and then I will have to move something to be able to have some chickens laying egg and have some grain growing and have some vegetable growing, so my community and my people can have less import of those things. Yes. So just put the garbage disposal area down here, and that will probably also be a place where I just pop down a lot of factories, because I would not want to live next to the garbage disposal place, because that would be quite stinky. And as we can see here now, the request or the demand for the higher density of buildings, residential buildings, are rising quite high. So this is my opportunity to make a medium density neighborhood where we can have the row houses, because I like the row houses. It makes the city looks more alive. And I also like the blocks, or I don't know, I don't remember the English word for it, but I like the not skyscrapers. I love those also, but the higher blocks of buildings where lots of people live, and you have lots of people in a busy area of the town. Although I'm not living in such a place, I used to live in such a place when I was younger and I was studying. I lived in a apartment building. It's called, actually, not blocks. It's called an apartment building. I lived in one of those, and I had the best time of my life with all the people and all the places to go. And yeah, that was a different part of of my life when I was young and not had three children and a husband and work, and I just lived life and gamed and had fun and partied, and yeah. So I like those, and we will be putting down a few of the apartment buildings. I think it's quite sad that, or it's not sad, it's logical that apartment building with lots of apartment will make the demand go down faster. But I would just wish that I could make cities with the high request for medium density, because I like those better than the skyscrapers. And that's probably because in Norway we don't have a lot of skyscrapers. It's quite, in my city we don't build very high. We build low, but we build lots of those apartment buildings. So I'm used to that, and that's how I like to build. Now I'm moving on to building those bendy roads with the houses popped down, spread out, and that's something I also use quite a lot of time when I'm building, making roads with curves and bends and placing down houses or putting down houses by the roads because I feel like that makes it looks really dynamic. I'm also looking for a place to put down some shops in this area because I don't feel it's necessary to go into downtown just to shop. I feel the people living in this nice area should be able to shop nearby, walk to the shops, or just take their bikes to the shop. I don't know, is there bikes in City Skylines? Mm, haven't seen anyone. Maybe I will have to look for them. I don't think there is. We'll find out. Also, putting down the graveyard or the cemetery. Nice to have a place for the dead people to lay. I feel that is a big lot. It takes a lot of space, but yeah, there should be different sizes to this one, I think. Yeah, we'll come back to that. And also putting down the medical or the medical clinic that has different sizes. So I think also the cemetery should have different sizes, a small one and bigger ones to put down multiple places in the city. And as you can see, it didn't last long. The area where I greened out the entire box before, I put down some commercial district here, and I had to do something about that area because the houses was getting big. You had huge gardens and everything, but they would not be able to afford that in the end. Um, I guess maybe not. But I got rid of those and I added some of the row houses because that would be a nice change to the houses being in the area already. And also since we put down the medical clinic, I felt like this should be more of a urban area of this not so urban area of the city. Yeah, so that's part of the city evolving through time because it, as I have said, it takes quite a lot of time when I build the start of a city. And as you can see, I call it the commercial district, but it's just commercial buildings. I also spend some time just putting down small patches of those so they don't grow into big places of commercial industry or commercial, not commercial industry, but commercial buildings. As you can see by the row houses in the urban area or the place where I have a lot of commercial, I also add some close to the residential buildings. And as you also can see, there in the area where I made the curvy and bendy roads, I try to add in more houses in that area because I feel like if I spend more time doing this in the beginning, it won't just look like I didn't have a plan because I never have a plan when I start a city. I just want it to be a nice city where people can enjoy their life. And this is my explanation to why I'm in the beginning of a game using so much time to to make the bendy roads or the curvy roads and place out houses because in the beginning when I started playing this game there I just made the squares and I popped down the green to make houses and I popped down the blue to make the commercial and I popped down the yellow to make the industry and it all ended up being just squares, squares and squares and squares and squares and squares, and I didn't enjoy that as much as I enjoy being without the plan, but making the city as I go along with playing. But I should probably be laying out and thinking, oh, I want that there and I want that there. But I feel like it's so hard because you never know what it feels like when the city comes to life. Where should I then put down things? And I know I should be, or not should be, but I could be controlling this more. But I feel like it's nice when the city grows with me and we experience the city together as it grows. Yeah, sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, I like it being that way. And also, as you can see, I named my city Springville. That was because when I was recording this, we have had a long and we still have a long winter ahead of us in Norway. But the last few months, there has been snow and cold, and there has been like 15, 20 degrees minus Celsius, and there has been ice, and I was so tired of it. And yesterday, there was sun and I could hear the snow melting off the roof and I could see the snow dripping and it was so beautiful. It was like a relief to a tired person in the winter because winters in Norway can be quite not hard or they can be hard. It's dark, it's snowy, it's cold. You have to get the kids dressed with multiple layers. And yesterday I could finally feel like, oh, in a few months there will be spring and we will see the grass again and we will be able to just add one layer to the kids when we send them off to school. And that's why this town is called Springville. And I love the name. And although Springville isn't very creative, it is in my heart right now. It is the correct name of this city. And yeah, I love it. Here I'm adding some more medium density buildings to the area where I only have low density housing, but it adds to the variation of the buildings. I feel like when I do the small squares, I often end up having a lot of the same houses popping up. So that's something that bothers me, but yeah, it is what it is. I have said it is what it is so many times in this video now, but yeah, it is what it is. And also, I the city is growing. It's almost 250 people living in the city right now, and I earlier I said that the medical clinic comes in different sizes. That's not entirely correct. What I meant was that the medical clinic is a small clinic that you can place in the area where there is a lot of people living, but you also have the expansion with the hospital coming later when you have received enough development points and have enough uh, people living in the city to have a hospital there. And that was what I was thinking with the cemetery, that it's quite big for a small city. You receive it early in the game, and you have, like, I had 100, 125 people living in my city, and one was dead, and I had to place down the big lot for the cemetery. And I know that you can buy the when you have enough development points, you can have the crematorium, or yeah, where which is a smaller lot, but it's not a graveyard. I'm used to having small graveyards all over the city where you can go and visit your deceased beloved ones. But yeah, I also added some squares, or I call them squares. It's road that makes squares. I'm calling them squares. Yeah, I added it to the area where I have my commercial buildings at the moment, but I won't call that the commercial area because I think that as this city evolves, I will have to change placement of the area where people will do all the shopping and the big shops will be, and also the office area will end up being, and the probably skyscrapers, because I don't think the place where I put it down in the beginning will be the place that suits the commercial area the best in the end. Yeah, if you know what I mean. But also, I'm here trying to say that due to my lack of planning the city, the commercial placement of the or the commercial area placement right now is just necessary because the people that live in the area I created as my residential area in the beginning, they deserve a place to go and shop their groceries and their to spend their money from their hard working lives. Yeah, and I'm also here again spending some time making the curvy roads, trying to make this a nice neighborhood. This is very much influenced by how I am living currently. I'm living by one of the nicest rivers in Norway. And we have lots of curvy roads, we have hills, and we have small clusters of houses placed all around us with lots and lots of nature where we can enjoy our lives and go outside and meet our neighbors, and the kids can climb trees, fall down off trees. They can, in the winter, they go out and they spend time with their friends sliding down the hills and on the snow, and we can just, yeah. So that's why I'm spending a lot of time doing this, because it feels like my place, and I know I'm giving my people a lot of life when I'm speaking and playing. But this is something that gives me pleasure with playing this game. It's not just people that will give me money to build bigger. It's people that should have a nice place to live. And that's my responsibility to give them a nice place to live. So, yeah, that's the explanation also to why it's taking so long to get to the next level and why it's taking so long to increase the population of my Springville, my beautiful, beautiful Springville. Or it's not beautiful right now, but it will be beautiful, I hope. Yes. I'll end this here now. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye. Have a nice day. Enjoy. Bye bye.